The air in the conference room at Vertex Tech Solutions carried that unmistakable scent of polished ambition, fresh leather from the executive chairs, faint ozone from the massive monitors lining the glass walls, and the subtle undercurrent of expensive cologne worn by people who believed they belonged in rooms like this. I sat in my usual spot at the far end of the long table, the one with a slightly obstructed view of the Bay Bridge through the floor-to-ceiling windows. Notebook open. Pen poised. I had perfected the art of being present yet invisible over the past 4 years of these quarterly board meetings. Olivia stood at the head of the table in her tailored navy blazer, the kind that whispered power without shouting it. Her voice cut through the room with practiced authority. Before we dive into the expansion proposals, let's address the obvious. We're talking about transformative growth today. Multi-million-dollar decisions that will define the next decade of Vertex. This isn't. She paused, her gaze sweeping the table and landing on me with that familiar mix of pity and superiority. This isn't something everyone here can fully grasp. My father, William Harper, nodded from 2 seats away, his silver hair catching the sunlight. He'd been Olivia's loudest supporter since she first sketched her AI-driven enterprise software idea on a napkin during a family barbecue 6 years ago in our Palo Alto backyard. Your sister's correct, Elena. These discussions get highly technical. Perhaps you'd prefer the lounge? We can brief you afterward over coffee. I offered the smile I'd honed through countless family dinners where my work at the local nonprofit was mentioned in passing while Olivia's startup milestones dominated the conversation. I'm comfortable here, Dad. I'd like to stay and listen. Listen, Olivia echoed with a light laugh that several board members joined. That's adorable. But we're about to review our Series C strategy. Valuations north of $250 million. The financial modeling alone requires real expertise. Ryan, my brother-in-law who had married Olivia 3 years ago and promptly appointed himself chief operating officer despite limited operational background beyond managing a chain of upscale gyms, leaned forward with a smirk. Elena, no disrespect, but do you even understand what a Series C entails? I have a solid sense of it, I replied evenly. A solid sense? Ryan glanced at Olivia, who raised an eyebrow. This is the concern we've discussed privately. Olivia, maybe it's time we revisit that observer policy, restricting access to those who bring actual financial weight to the table. The suggestion lingered like an unspoken threat. My phone vibrated softly in my blazer pocket, likely an update from my firm, but I left it there. Olivia tapped her stylus against her tablet. Ryan's right. Elena, I adore you. Your family. But let's be real about your world. You manage programs at that community foundation, live in a cozy 2-bedroom in the East Bay, and commute in a reliable but aging Subaru. That's honorable work. This room, however, this demands serious capital, deep market insight, unwavering commitment. I'm committed, I said quietly, turning a page in my notebook. Committed how? Exactly? Dad interjected gently. You earn around $48,000 annually at the foundation. Olivia's company is valued at $17 million currently and positioned for negotiations that could exceed $250 million. These figures are on another scale entirely. The other board members had fallen silent, their discomfort palpable, yet their curiosity keeping them engaged in this unfolding family tension. I could feel the weight of their gazes, but I kept my expression neutral. I grasped the scale, I murmured. Really? Olivia leaned back, arms crossed. Quick test then. What's our current monthly burn rate? $875,000, I answered without hesitation. Reduced from $1.25 million last quarter after the cloud optimization and vendor renegotiations. Olivia's eyebrows lifted fractionally. Lucky recall. Customer acquisition cost. $138 per enterprise client. yielding a lifetime value ratio of roughly 8.2 to 1, well above sector benchmarks. The room went still. Ryan's smirk faded. How do you know these specifics? I review the quarterly reports, I said simply. They're available on the shared drive. The password-protected drive, Olivia noted slowly, her tone sharpening. As a regular observer, I assumed access to core documents was part of the courtesy. Dad cleared his throat. Elena.
Dear. The point stands.
Your presence is family courtesy. But Olivia's correct. We're nearing discussions of anchor commitments for Series C, tens of millions from lead investors. That's not your arena. What is my arena?
Dad.
I asked, genuine curiosity threading my voice. You help people, he replied kindly. Food security initiatives. Support for at-risk youth through the foundation. It's meaningful. Truly. But Olivia built Vertex from a concept to a leader in AI enterprise tools. She's on track to be a 9-figure success before 40.
You're
doing vital community work in your lane. The condescension wrapped around his words like fog. This was the Harper family dynamic distilled. Olivia the visionary trailblazer. Dad the enabler. Ryan the opportunistic supporter. And me, the quiet younger sister tolerated at milestones provided I remained unobtrusive. I understand, I said, closing my notebook momentarily. So for Series C, what's the target raise? Olivia exhaled dramatically. $85 to $110 million. Early signals from Sequoia, Andreessen Horowitz, and several other top-tier firms. The lead will likely write $35 to $45 million minimum. Confident in closing? I asked. Completely. Revolutionary product. 360% year-over-year growth. Proven model. We're oversubscribed before formally launching. Impressive, I said sincerely. It is, Dad beamed. Olivia has the entrepreneurial gene. Some are born builders. Others are born helpers. Both matter. But they're distinct. I absorbed the familiar categorization.
Nodding.
One last question before the formal agenda? Quickly, Olivia said, checking her Cartier watch, a gift from Dad after the first major revenue milestone. The initial funding 4 years ago, the $13 million that enabled MVP development and first hires. Source. Public record. Olivia frowned. Angel Consortium and early VCs. Why? Curious about the full cap table. And the Series B 18 months ago, the $35 million for international expansion? Ryan's irritation surfaced. Where is this going? Elena? No agenda. Just trying to map the financial landscape since I'm apparently limited in conceptualizing it. Series B led by benchmark with follow-on from existing and new institutions, Olivia said impatiently. Basic history. If you're attending, at least prepare minimally. I have prepared, I assured her. Series A and B, purely institutional. Or any individual backers. Why does it matter? Dad asked. It doesn't really, I said. Just wondering who backed the vision when it was still risky, a pitch deck and prototype. Olivia's expression softened slightly, mistaking my interest for admiration. The earliest capital, pre-Series A seed, came from Horizon Capital Ventures. $2.5 million when we had nothing but belief. That allowed MVP build-out which attracted Series A. They've been silent partners since, hands off. No board seat. Perfect fit. Participated in every round, including $55 million in Series B. Largest shareholder. Actually, $55 million is substantial, I noted. That's what real investors deliver, Ryan said pointedly. Big checks. Not everyone qualifies. No, I agreed softly. Not everyone does. My phone vibrated again, multiple times. I excused myself. I need to step out briefly for call. The meeting's starting, Olivia protested. It'll be quick, I promised, rising and smoothing my simple sheath dress from a local boutique. In the hallway, the modern high-rise 22nd floor hummed with activity. I found a quiet alcove by the windows and checked my messages from Lauren Chin, managing partner at Eclipse Ventures, my firm, founded 9 years ago with a $28 million trust from grandmother Harper, the only family member who saw potential beyond charity work in me. Messages confirmed quarterly metrics, Series C timeline concerns for Vertex, and a portfolio review. I replied swiftly, meeting unfolding as anticipated. Initiate Option 7 from Contingency Protocols. Full withdrawal requested. Liquidate all positions by close of business today. Lauren's response. Option 7? Nuclear. Confirming $96 million exposure. This tanks Series C. Absolutely sure? I glanced back through the glass at Olivia commanding the room, Dad nodding enthusiastically, Ryan mirroring her gestures. None suspected the quiet sister had architected their success. Absolutely. Execute withdrawal. Notify per shareholder agreements. Identify Eclipse Ventures as my vehicle. End anonymity. Understood. Proceeding. This will ripple. I pocketed the phone and returned, the weight of my decision settling like armor. Olivia had launched into her presentation by the time I reseated myself, advancing slides with projected growth curves, market penetration forecasts, and competitive analyses. Our trajectory to $350 million valuation is locked in. Product market fit is undeniable. Technology scales effortlessly, and the team executes flawlessly. Series C accelerates everything by 18 months, priming for IPO or acquisition by 2028. A board member murmured approval. Ambitious. Realistic, Olivia corrected firmly. Tier 1 VCs recognize Vertex will own the enterprise AI vertical. My phone buzzed repeatedly. I silenced it discreetly. Around the table, others began checking devices as notifications hit. The CFO, David Patel, stood abruptly. Excuse me, I must take this. His voice carried urgency as he exited. Olivia faltered briefly. As I was outlining the market size, another phone rang. Then another. Ryan frowned. What is this disruption? David returned, face drained of color. Olivia. Private discussion required.
Now.
We're mid-meeting, she insisted. Now, David repeated, tone leaving no room for debate. Olivia set down her clicker and followed him out, Dad trailing closely. Through the transparent walls, I watched David present his tablet. Olivia's face shifted, annoyance to bewilderment to raw shock. Dad's complexion reddened alarmingly. They hurried back. Pause the meeting, Olivia announced. Voice strained. Issue with the cap table. Our anchor investor, Horizon Capital Ventures, has issued immediate full withdrawal notice. Impossible, Ryan scoffed. Contracts prevent arbitrary pulls. Convertible notes with explicit withdrawal clauses, David explained grimly. Agreed upon for preferential early valuations.
Seed. Series A. Follow-on.
Series B. All carried them. Amount? Another director asked. $96.8 million including accrued interest, David said. Seed $2.5 million. Series A $13 million. Follow-on $28 million. Series B $55 million. Gasps filled the room. Olivia raised her hand. Mistake. Horizon has been exemplary, silent, non-interfering for years. Why withdraw suddenly? Notice cites fund founder and managing partner's discretion, David read. Fully compliant with agreements signed. Contact the founder immediately, Dad demanded. This is reckless, yanking nearly $100 million mid-growth without notice. The founder is identified, David said carefully, glancing toward me. Corporate records show Eclipse Ventures. Wait. Horizon Capital Ventures was established 9 years ago by Elena Harper as sole principal. Portfolio now exceeds $410 million across tech holdings. Vertex represents their flagship and longest position. Silence crashed down. Ridiculous, Olivia whispered. Elena runs community programs. She lacks those resources. Filings confirm initial $28 million capitalization from personal trust, David continued. Scrolling. Grown substantially. Vertex is largest single allocation. Dad shook his head vigorously. Coincidence. Same name. Elena. Clarify this error. I met their stares calmly. Phone still vibrating with confirmations. No error. Dad. Olivia's voice cracked. What? Eclipse, operating Horizon as vehicle, is mine, I stated. Founded 9 years ago with grandmother Harper's inheritance. She trusted only me with quiet execution over flash. Ryan stammered incomprehensibly. I continued evenly. 6 years ago, Olivia approached me seeking investor intros for her startup. I evaluated the plan, saw potential in the AI framework, and seeded $2.5 million anonymously through the fund. I structured privacy, knowing disclosure would complicate acceptance. You're fabricating this, Olivia said, conviction wavering. When Series A approached, I recruited the syndicate personally, leading with $13 million of my capital while facilitating Benchmark and others. Same for Series B, my $55 million Anchor Plus introductions. Every strategic approval, hire vetting, expansion review over 4 years routed through my observer rights and protective provisions. David verified frantically. Agreements grant Horizon unusually strong vetoes on major moves. Standard protective, but enforced centrally by Elena. Why hide? Olivia asked. Vulnerability surfacing. Why let us dismiss you as incapable? To test merit-based building, I replied. I backed the technology genuinely, but needed proof success stemmed from your execution, not family leverage or assumed pity funding. You excelled in product and vision. Vertex thrives on talent, but the condescension, she pressed. You dismissed my input repeatedly. Board meetings framed me as interloper. Today reinforce serious investors only, questioning basic knowledge. We didn't realize, Dad began. You never inquired, I countered. Never probed Horizon's origins despite years of partnership. Olivia's phone rang. She answered tensely, listened, then ended call. Sequoia, withdrawing interest. Citing stability risks from Anchor exit. David checked his inbox. Andreessen same, pausing pending resolution. Notifications cascaded. VCs who had clamored for allocation retreated amid uncertainty. Elena. Please, Olivia said, voice breaking, the first time I'd heard her plead. The company requires this capital. Without Series C. Operations contract. Potential layoffs. Everything built. Everything I largely funded. I corrected gently. $96 million from me versus $24 million combined external. 76% of Vertex capital was your little sister's. What do you want? Ryan demanded. Apology? Board seat? State terms. Nothing from Vertex anymore, I said. Strong fundamentals exist, revenue traction. Defensible tech. Demand. New capital possible. Albeit at discounted valuation once withdrawal terms circulate. Future backers will scrutinize provisions closely. Why execute this? Dad pressed. We're family. Precisely because we're family, I answered, rising and collecting my things. 28 years positioned as Lesser Harper. For years enduring dismissal in these rooms. Intellectually,
Finanzially inferior.
I built $410 million portfolio. Anchored your success. Yet remained the one unable to conceptualize millions. We didn't know, Olivia repeated faintly.
You didn't look, I said.
Took capital. Credited solely your brilliance. My phone confirmed. Positions liquidated. Proceeds transferred. New consortium notified. Equity transferred, I announced. New primary investors specialize in turnarounds. Expect active involvement, board seats, operational oversight. No more silent status. Please, Dad urged. Family reconciliation possible. Family demands mutual respect, I replied. Not unilateral tolerance, then loyalty claims when accountability arrives. Vertex survives. 18-month runway allows recalibration toward profitability over perpetual raises. Healthier long-term. The room buzzed with frantic energy as I stood. Phones lit up relentlessly. Olivia's device rang again. The bank. Likely probing the sudden liquidity shift. She stared at it. Then me. Frozen. You should take that, I advised softly. And Olivia, I never questioned your capability. Only wished reciprocal belief in mine. I moved toward the exit. Behind. Voices escalated, Ryan barking questions. Board members demanding clarity. Dad pleading for pause. The sound of empire recalibrating under pressure followed me down the corridor. In the elevator descending to the lobby, my reflection showed composed features masking internal storm. Part of me ached for the 90-plus employees whose livelihoods now faced indirect ripples. They were blameless, victims of leadership blind spots. Yet my withdrawal included safeguards, structured notice periods, staggered liquidity to prevent immediate collapse, handover to operators known for tough but ethical interventions. The new consortium would enforce discipline, cost controls, metric accountability, balanced growth. Exactly what unchecked fundraising had diluted. My Subaru waited in the garage, paid off, dependable, chosen deliberately over status symbols. Wealth afforded choices. Grandmother Harper taught discernment in deployment, not display. Grandmother's lessons echoed. Power whispers until necessary to roar. Wealth without purpose hollows. Character reveals under illusion of powerlessness. As I merged onto the freeway toward the East Bay. Catherine, no. Lauren called. Executed fully. Funds secured. Tech press already circling. Major silent backer exits Vertex at critical juncture.
Good, I said.
Transparency now serves. The acquiring consortium requests introductory call. Impressed by track record nurturing early stage without interference. Schedule for next week, I replied. Currently, I need distance. Perhaps coastal quiet without Series C discussions. Lauren chuckled.
Deserved.
3 new decks await. Promising health deck.
Logistics AI.
Sustainable materials. One screams potential. Forward details, I said. Review from wherever I land. Hanging up. I activated cruise control. Radio low with ambient jazz. Victoria, no. Olivia's text arrived. We must discuss.
Please.
I responded. Discussion occurred. Wishing strength navigating transitions. Dad's followed. Elena. Profound regret. Dinner soon? Rebuild understanding. I paused. Then typed. Time needed. Months perhaps. Proud of both daughters' paths possible. Builder and steward. Showed unevenly. His reply, always proud. Failed expression. Not too late. Perhaps not. I thought. Pocketing the phone. But boundaries first. By sunset. Parked overlooking the water. Reflection settled. The story would break tomorrow. Enigmatic investor detonates promising startups raise. Analysts would dissect judgment. Motives. Fallout. Some call reckless, others strategic recalibration.
For me,
Resolution. No more invisibility in family narrative. No more tolerating diminishment. Tomorrow resumed portfolio stewardship, 17 active positions. Performing steadily. None mirroring Harper dynamics. Nonprofit commitments continued. $4.2 million annually channeled quietly into shelters. Education equity. Food access. The $48,000 salary reflected passion, not necessity.
Dromots wisdom validated, qui est compétence outlaste spectacle.
Revelation timed precisely shifts trajectories. A final text from Olivia. Bank confirms strain. Series C evaporating. Help. I stared at the bay lights. Response simple. Fundamentals remain.
Bootstrap provas resiliença.
New partner's guide. My chapter closed. Driving home to the modest house where spreadsheets balanced impact over ostentation. Satisfaction bloomed, not triumph, but closure. Family ties endured. Altered. Respect earned, not demanded. The sun dipped fully. Next investments awaited evaluation. Serious capital deploys where merit aligns. Assumptions absent.